let me just say this. If Aaron Rodgers comes back and plays a single snap in any of the 3 remaining games for the New York Jets, a franchise that does more stupid things than almost any other franchise in the history of the NFL, would be doing the stupidest possible thing they can do. What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Chasin' It. Trey Wingo here with Chase Daniel on the 33rd team. So Week 15 Sunday is in the books. And Chase, I'm kind of reminded in one of the biggest games of the day, like that line from The Godfather Part 3, Al Pacino. Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. Except it's the opposite. Just when you want to believe in the Dallas Cowboys and they finally got it figured out, they beat 2 teams with winning records at home in Seattle. They pounce on Philadelphia. They go up and get their asses handed to them in Buffalo. This game was not close after one mistake by the Dallas Cowboys where a potential block punt turned into a roughing the kicker that set up the drive to continue for the Buffalo Bills. And Buffalo absolutely crammed it down their throats. So Buffalo, just when you're done believing in them, they do something like this. And Dallas, just when you start believing in them, they lay an egg like this.
I was on the bandwagon, man. I was on the Dallas bandwagon. Look, I had understood that the splits at home and away for Dallas, completely different team. At home, they're 7-0, averaging 40 points a game. On the road, they're 3-3, only averaging 24 points a game.
3-4 now.
Yeah, 3-4 now. And so it was just, man, it was a bloodbath out there, honestly. And the best way to describe it, in my opinion, is that the Bills just bullied the Cowboys. Like, they beat them at their own game. They ran the ball down their throats, over 260 yards rushing. James Cook went off, career day in every single category. And that's really the story of the game for me, is like, hey, when you look back and you see what happened in this game, this offensive line for the Buffalo Bills that we don't talk enough about just took it to the defensive line. Like, Josh Allen had 7 completions. 7 completions. If you would have told me that before this game started and you asked if they would have won, I'd say absolutely not. But James Cook, career day. And I still go back, man. I go back to their change in offensive coordinator. And not only the change in offensive coordinator Brady, but the change in offensive philosophy. Like, you could see that Sean McDermott had a hand in this whole thing, saying, hey, we're going to get our shit together on defense, okay? If you can just run the ball, play keep away, make Josh Allen not lose us the game. He can make some superhero plays every once in a while, which he did a couple times a day with his legs. He's the first player in NFL history with 10 games in a season of 1 rushing touchdown and 1 passing touchdown. He made history today, and he completed 7 passes, and they blew him out. Like, it's just, man, all I know is, like, this Bills team, like, don't let them in the playoffs right now. The way they're playing, don't let them in the playoffs. And then you look at the other side of the ball and the Cowboys, you're just like, you had one thing to do. That's go up to Buffalo in a hostile environment and keep it close. Maybe get a win. They got embarrassed, Trey. It was an embarrassment. Forget the 1 seed. Forget the MVP for Dak Prescott. Like, all that, because of this loss, is completely off the table right now.
Yeah, I mean, just to sum it up, you mentioned James Cook, a career day. He had 221 yards by himself, combined rushing and receiving. That's more than the Cowboys' entire team. They had under 200 yards of total offense. So this is the kind of egg we're talking about. And I know some people are going to say, well, the Cowboys had that stomach bug that went through the team. And I understand that is a problem. But they got it shoved right up there, you-know-what, okay? There were 5 scoring drives in this game of at least 11 plays for the Buffalo Bills. Wow. This wasn't complicated. It wasn't overly thought out. It was just, we're going to shove it right up your ass. And that's exactly what they did. 11 plays, 12 plays, 11 plays, 15 plays. This was bully ball at its finest, and the Cowboys simply had no response.
Well, that's what I'm worried about. Not worried about, but like, you have to ask the question, and I'm asking right now, like, have teams found a way to keep Dak Prescott and that offense off the field and to be able to run the ball down their throat? Because, look, as I'm watching this game, from my perspective, I'm looking at it in offensively on Buffalo. It's not like it's like two types of runs. It's not like it's inside zone left or outside zone right. It's power, it's counter, it's duo, it's reverses, it's jet sweep, like every type of way to keep them off kilter. And they could never even like get to a point where they could like handle it. And that's the thing. They ran the ball out of nickel a lot. So you have these 4 down linemen. All these linemen just want to rush the quarterback. Dallas is not a really heavy pressure team. They're a big man pressure team. So they said, hey, let's get light boxes. Okay, we're going to pass versus heavy boxes. We're going to run versus light boxes. And sure enough, every other play, it was Josh Allen checking at the line. Okay, let's run this. Let's run that. James Cook 10, James Cook 20, this and that. And even their backups. Like, it's just, I mean, give it to like the Buffalo Bills offensive line, though, because this is a game that you have been talking about the whole week, and I guarantee you it's a game where Sean McDermott went into the offensive line room and said, we are riding your back, and talked to every single offensive line. You guys got to be dirty. You guys got to play hard. You guys got to play physical. We're going to run it almost 50 times, and that is what we're going to do, and we're going to continue running it. One of these 11-play drives, they ran 9 straight times and got down to the 10, and they threw it in. Like, all this stuff is wild to me. Like, you love to see it. You love to see the whole demeanor of the team change too on defense when you're okay, like when they're running the football. First of all, Trey, as you know, but a lot of people don't, like, you're resting your defense. So when your defense is out there for short periods of time, they're fresh. Okay, you handle the ball for 35 minutes of the game. You only got to play defense for 25. Like, it seems easy, but the way they're doing it, the way they're executing it, is flawless right now.
There's nothing more demoralizing than a team basically saying to you, we're not going to do anything fancy. We're just going to run it right at you. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. I mean, there's a great story of Hall of Famer Larry Allen when he came out of the huddle. And Justin Tuck told this story when he was playing for the Giants. When Larry Allen, Hall of Fame offensive line for the Cowboys, knew that a play was coming his way, he'd come to the line and go, whoop, whoop, like this, which means I'm going to bury you. They're running right behind me, and you can't stop me. You can't stop me. And that's exactly what the Buffalo Bills did to the Dallas Cowboys. They basically Larry Allen, whoop, whoop, the Dallas Cowboys the entire game. I mean, there's nothing more demoralizing than just saying, like, shit, they're just running it right at us, and we can't do anything about it. So I do agree with you. I think Dak's MVP candidacy might have died in Western New York on Sunday afternoon. Here's the problem for the Cowboys. We know how good they are at home. 15 straight home games, longest active streak in the NFL, winning home games, second longest in franchise history behind 18 straight. The only way they get a home playoff game is if they win the division. They fall to 10-4. Now, it's very possible Philadelphia could lose Monday night when they play in Seattle, because we're not sure what's going on with Jalen Hurts, and they're banged up and all kinds of stuff, and Seattle's got to have this game. Here's the Cowboys' remaining schedule. They go to Miami on Christmas Eve. Then they're home for the Lions, and then they're at the Commanders. I'm going to give them the Lions. I'm going to give them the Commanders. I'm going to give them the Commanders because the Commanders will have nothing to play for, and I think Dallas is going to still potentially have something to play for. Can they take care of the Lions at home? I think they can. So that leads us to this one thing. This game next week for the Dallas Cowboys is everything. If they want to have any shot, and I mean any shot, of getting a home playoff game, they have to go down to Miami and take care of a Dolphin team that just obliterated the Jets, which we'll get to in a minute, without Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's crazy. Like, honestly, I would even say that I don't know if they're going to be able to beat the Lions. Like, because the way the Lions are playing,
it's at home. It's at home.
Yeah.
So look, the Cowboys are a different animal at home. That's why I'm looking at it.
And what's crazy too about this Miami game, Trey, that you didn't mention too, is that the Dolphins are still in play for the 1 seed in the AFC. So they have a lot to play for as well.
Correct.
So it's not like, hey, we're winning our division, we're just going to like chill out. It's going to be some fireworks put on display in Miami with both those crazy offenses. It's going to be who it's going to come down to who plays the best defense, right? Like, can you handle Tua? Is Tyreek healthy? Jalen Waddle went off today. Dallas, can you get back to playing sound defense, because you were one of the best defenses in the league till you got put 31 on you today by Buffalo. And I mean, Raheem Mostert in Miami, 20 touchdowns, leads the league. 20 rushing touchdowns. So, like, they're going to run the ball.
Franchise
it's not going to be
Tua for Miami.
Yeah, franchise record. It's not going to be, hey, we're just going to throw the ball. It's going to be a heavy dose of the run, especially after what Buffalo put on tape today against Dallas.
All right, so here's the Buffalo equation, right? As good as this win was, for them to get into the playoffs, they're going to need some help. basically the best case scenario for the Buffalo Bills is this. Miami loses one of their last 2 games before they play the Buffalo Bills in Miami. Buffalo beat them 48-20 early in the season up in Buffalo. This game's down in Miami. The Bills' remaining schedule, Saturday they're at the Chargers. Easton Stick doesn't feel right for the Chargers. Then they go to New England, the lowest scoring offense in the NFL, and then they get Miami. The best scenario for Buffalo is for them to win the division. That's their best playoff hope because of the way this thing is stacked and all these other teams that are 8-6 right now in the AFC. So the best scenario for Buffalo to get in is for them to win those 3 remaining games, hope Miami loses at least once more before they play in the regular season finale in Miami. Because if that doesn't happen, as good as Josh Allen and the Bills are playing, they still might find themselves out of the postseason.
Which is crazy to me because that's what you said before we started this call. Like they literally they don't control their own destiny, and that's what you hate to see when a team's playing like this. But it becomes from the early season struggles. Like you got to live with what you put on film, what you put on tape. And yeah, it is an interesting road ahead for the Bills. I mean, and like you said, you got to hope that Miami like loses to Dallas probably, and that Buffalo wins out. Like there's so many situations that could play out. Like it would just be a shame though, right? Like if the Bills, the way they're playing, the way they figured it out, like they are for sure at this point, like one of the top 8 teams in the NFL, the way they're playing. And just because of the way it's settled and the way it's figured out and the way they played early in the year, the position they put themselves in, if they win out, there's a chance that they don't even get in. Like that's the crazy thing. Like that's the crazy thing. And it's just, it's a shame, honestly, because I think they've sort of figured it out what they want. I mean, it took long enough for Buffalo to figure it out. But they figured it out who they are on offense, who they are on defense. This is the team we have going forward, and all it took was one fire of an offensive coordinator to galvanize your team and squad like we see all the time, and sure enough, it's happened.
Yeah, and listen, here's why everything is still crazy, because heading into this Sunday, and I think it still holds, the 2 teams with the toughest road to the end of the season are the top 2 seeds in the AFC.
Yeah.
Baltimore has the toughest schedule. Miami has the second toughest schedule based on opponent strength, wins and losses. The last 3 games for Miami, Dallas, Baltimore, and Buffalo. So like as crazy as good as it's been for Miami and Baltimore at this point, literally everything is still in play in the AFC, the way these things are stacked. And that leads us to our second topic of conversation here, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. They avoid a 3-game losing streak. By the way, the last time a team quarterbacked by Patrick Mahomes lost 3 games in a row, he was playing in Lubbock, Texas for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. They don't lose 3 games in a row with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. Teams just don't do that. They take care of New England, as they should have. It was a little bit sloppy and a little bit closer than it was, 27-17. I mean, Butker missed his first field goal or first kick of the year. That stopped them from going up 10-0 early. They're cruising up 27-10, looking to just put the woodshed on New England and get out of there with an easy win. And then Kadarius Toney. It's so bad right now. Like, Chase, it is so bad. Another interception right off the hands, just like in week 1, the pick 6 that led to the win for the Detroit Lions. It was that interception off a perfectly thrown ball by Patrick Mahomes to Kadarius Toney that led to a touchdown that put the Patriots back in it. The Chiefs' defense shut them down. Bailey Zappi and company could do nothing. The special teams did a great job pinning them literally on the 1-inch line on a punt. Yeah. But it was a Kadarius Toney play that allowed this shit to happen again. Directly after the week before, where he lined up offsides, negating one of the greatest plays in the regular season that we've ever seen, the Travis Kelce catch and lateral to Toney, which would have put them out of the Buffalo Bills. And you saw Mahomes on the sidelines. He's like, what the else can I do? Like, what else can I do? Can he actually throw another pass to Kadarius Toney this regular season?
I mean, I just don't know if he is going to. I mean, he might have to. But at this point, like, I tweeted out last week after that, not even the offsides, the drop early in the game for Toney. Like,
right, on 2nd and 12.
I feel bad for the guy. Yeah, I was like, I feel bad for the guy. He's not trying. I don't feel bad for the guy anymore. Like, this is your job. Like, it becomes, like, if you keep continuing to do this, like, you at some point you can't put him into the lineup. Like, let him return punts, let him return kicks because he's special with the football in his hands, but you can't trust him. And the Chiefs once again had like 8 or 9 different guys catch passes, which is like a Patrick Mahomes staple. But I mean, that, you said it, but I'm going to revisit it. That look from Patrick Mahomes when he's sitting there on the sideline,
he's
like
done.
dog cussing him. Like I was like, okay, like this is a point, because Mahomes does not get that hot very easily. But when you continue to drop his passes, and when not only you drop his passes, okay, but those passes that are dropped are tips and overthrows, and they lead to interceptions. And then the week you had last week, you line up off sides on the greatest play in NFL history that never was. It's just you got to really get, like, as a staff and be like, hey, let's just pick and choose when we use Kadarius Toney. Let's give him 8
Hand
plays
it off.
Hand
or 10
it off. Plays. Do a
Hand
jet
it off.
sweep. Yes, do a jet sweep so he still can get a catch. Just like toss it to him. Like, it's so mental for him right now, and rightfully so, because it's just you see these mistakes in critical junctures of the game, no bigger than last week. But then again, this week they were rolling 27-10. Now they get back into the game 27-17. Not only do you like drop the pass, at least interception, but you piss off probably the greatest quarterback of all time. Like, has a chance to be the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I don't want. Like, forget this, forget the drop. Like, you're on Patrick's bad side right now, buddy.
Yeah. Here's the problem, and it continues to be the problem for the Kansas City Chiefs. Rashee Rice is a star. I think this kid is going to be the future for them. But they got to find somebody else, because here's the box score for the Chiefs. Rice, 9 catches, 91 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Next on that list, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 4 catches, running back. Noah Gray, tight end, 2 catches. Justin Watson, 1 catch for 31 yards, wide receiver. Travis Kelce, 5 catches for 20 yards, really irrelevant. Jerick McKinnon, running back, 3 catches. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, wide receiver, 1 catch for 17 yards. Richie James, 1 catch for 17 yards. Kadarius Toney, 2 catches for 5 yards, and this one more time. Like, there is not another wide receiver that he can look at and say, I trust you, buddy. I trust you to be where you're supposed to be, and I trust you to make the catch when I throw it to you where you're supposed to be. That is such a limiting feeling, Chase. You've been through this. You know, guys, when you're playing, I can trust this guy and I can't trust that guy. And then you're looking to try and do one other thing instead of the thing that should be the easiest.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, Mahomes has done a really good job of just trying to trust his guys, because he's given them multiple chances. 4 more drops today.
God.
It's not like he's not throwing to him, because he is a guy that trusts the offense. The ball will go where it goes because that offense dictates it. But, like, I just think of this whole thing, like, at least he has Rashee Rice. And I'm thinking, well, Rashee Rice is a rookie. So we're saying at least you have Rashee Rice. Like, that just goes back to telling me, like, yeah, Kelsey's going to get his, but he was bottled up today. All right, if the run game's not going, who are you going to trust? Rashee Rice still had some drops, still has this. And it just goes back to the organizational failure not to get a receiver, not to get another true number 1 receiver. They put it out in training camp that, hey, like, we trust these guys. We trust Sky Moore. We trust Kadarius Toney. It's going to be awesome. And I believed them, because why wouldn't we? Because they were great without Tyreek the year before. They had Juju, lost Juju. And then all of a sudden now it's this year and you're 15 weeks in and you're like, I wonder what would happen if they actually had a true number 1 receiver. Like, they wouldn't have 5 losses right now. There's no way.
Hell no.
There's no way. That's the only thing holding their offense back.
Yeah, look, I was giving Toney a pass week 1 because he had missed most of training camp, right? He had a horrible game against the Lions. This has been a season-long issue for him. Okay, so here's the Chiefs' remaining schedule, and there's no reason for them not to finish 12-5. There's no reason. 2 of their last 3 games are at home. They get the Raiders at Arrowhead. Then they get the Bengals, who are playing really well with Jake Browning at Arrowhead. And then they're at the Chargers. So that's Aiden O'Connell, Jake Browning, and Easton Stick. There's no reason outside of the Chiefs shooting themselves in the foot for them to finish 12-5. And with all the shit that's gone sideways, that has the potential to either be the 1 seed or the 2 seed, because they hold the tiebreaker over Miami, they hold the tiebreaker over Jacksonville. They have the potential to even possibly end up with the 1 seed if they just stop making. It's like the line from Scrooge. Would you please stop the goddamn hammering? Would you please stop the damn mistakes? If you just do that, it's still all there for them. The question is, because it's been all season long, we have no idea if they're going to be able to do it.
Well, and that's the thing. That's sports. That's why you love sports, and that's why you continue to hope that they're going to break out of this cycle, especially on offense, right? Who knows if it's going to happen? But a little bit about the defense hasn't played as well as of late either. Like, that's not what we're talking. Like, this team was getting carried by its defense at one point.
Their defense is still playing well enough. They're still playing well enough that the offense just does their job.
But Bailey Zappi was 14 and 19, 150 yards and a touchdown at one point in the game. Bailey Zappi, and it's just like, how long can this defense continue to hold on while this offense tries to catch up? And look, I'm a big Mahomes fan. And at the end of the day, if you have Mahomes, you got a shot, right? Yeah. But he needs other people to step up. He needs Travis Kelce to find a way to step up because he's been bottled up too. His number one guy. You got to find ways to get him the football in situations where he had almost looked like a drop touchdown pass. Well, he did have a drop touchdown pass today that Mahomes put perfectly. It was a double post, put it over, dropped it. Okay, like Taylor Swift was there. She was upset. She was cussing out the cameras, like all that stuff. It was wild. I was like, oh my God, we got to talk about this on the show because she's become like a legitimate football fan. But find ways to get your playmakers involved. Get Isaiah Pacheco back from injury. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is playing well, but I just don't know if they have enough weapons. Like, I just don't know if they have enough weapons.
If they had one other receiver with two functioning hands or the ability to run the right routes, it might be enough, but we don't know if that's the case. All right, as we mentioned, backup quarterbacks have been a thing this year. I mean, it's been absolutely remarkable, and perhaps nobody's played better than Jake Browning. Jake Browning registered that remarkable comeback in the fourth quarter against the Vikings. They were down at one point double digits in the fourth quarter. They scored 21 fourth quarter points to get it to overtime. Jake Browning is really, like, we all sort of said when Burrow went down. And by the way, now we don't know what's going on with Jamar Chase. He's got a sprained AC joint. That's a tough one. We'll see what happens there. But if they can continue to win and get in without Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, it's a remarkable story. I do have to applaud Cincinnati for the way they've handled this situation. Burrow done after that game against the Ravens. Jamar Chase has been in and out of the lineup. And here they are still in the thick of it. This speaks to me to the character of the team and the character, and we talk about this a lot with coaches. Culture, right? Yeah. And culture's great as long as you fucking win. Culture, if you don't win, might as well be a petri dish where you've got a culture in there and there's bacteria and staph infection everywhere, okay? Zach Taylor has built a culture that produces wins. And I think he won't win the Coach of the Year. Not a chance in hell.
No.
But Zach Taylor needs to be respected for the job that he's doing with a Cincinnati team that has massive limitations right now.
Well, and it could arguably be his best coaching job of his career so
Absolutely.
far to even be in a chance. Like, even if they went to the Super Bowl, even if they beat Mahomes, like, I just go back to, like, the culture is great, right? And that culture started when you drafted Joe Burrow. And they built everything around Joe Burrow. They brought in that big offensive line. Finally, he's playing a lot better. They were like one of three offensive lines until Kappa got hurt that had played the entire season together. So that was good. But also, like, just speak about development, right? And what the coaching staff and front office, like the development of players. Jake Browning, in particular, a backup quarterback, never played, stuck with him because they thought that he was the best guy for the job. Like, never wavered, never went outside the organization and thought, hey, we need to bring somebody else in. They trusted their evaluation, and not only did they evaluate well, but that whole offensive staff sort of shifted gears. And that's what we've talked about a lot before, shifted gears to what Jake Browning does well, because it's not the same what Joe Burrow does well. You see him more under center, play action, RPO game. He feels really comfortable in the shotgun like he was in Washington. The throw it up to T. Higgins and the T. Higgins reverse around reach might have been the coolest play of all time. Like it was awesome, and just seems so calm and cool and collected. Like in the huddle, when things are going awry, like you just don't know. Like with him, like if anything's going wrong, he just is so calm and cool, collected. But like give Zach Taylor the credit too on that, because he's got the biggest hand in that, and just the development of Chase Brown too. Like the rookie running back is having a balling year. Like all these guys that didn't think they would have a big, I guess, say in how the season went. In training camp, they're like, oh, we're the 2 and 3, we're just trying to do it. They give them credit, man. They stuck with it. They just continued to work their ass off. And right now they put themselves in a really good position.
Yeah, and speaking of putting yourself in a really good position, it is time for the Trey Wingo, Chase Daniel portion of the program where we remind everybody once again, we were ahead of the fucking game on Joe
Flacco.
Okay?
Let's
we
go.
said it. We said it week one, and I was scoffed. I have a buddy of mine that I worked with at ESPN for years. Like, we started together on the 6 o'clock Sports Center, then Baseball Tonight, then he was in charge of the NFL. When I put out that stuff about Joe Flacco, he's like, dude, what are you talking about? He's ridiculous. Oh, yeah? Why don't you go take a look again today? Did he throw 3 interceptions? Yes. Was one of them or two of them maybe not his fault? Yes. But he also threw for 374 yards, including a strike to Amari Cooper that got them back in the game in the fourth quarter. And then another strike to David Njoku, who did a miraculous spin move, stayed in bounds while he was still there to go ahead and get the game-winning field goal with about 36 seconds left. Like, you can scoff all you want. All these quarterback-needy teams that are dying on the vine, they should have picked up the phone and made a call to Joe effing Flacco like we told them to in frickin' September.
We told him to in September, and honestly, it would have been for cheap. Like, he just wants to play,
Yeah,
and he even was so
play.
confident. He came out before the game and said, "I'm not even done for this year. I don't want to retire in 24. I want to play another year in 24." So he's the ageless wonder. But yeah, I mean, of all the throws today, like the Amari Cooper dot was awesome because he fitted in tight window, like classic Joe Flacco. But no bigger to me than the Njoku throw because it's all it is a shallow cross. The Bears are bringing, which honestly, like, give credit to the Bears defense. They had been playing really well up to that point, and just the last fourth quarter was, the fourth quarter, and they bared it. And but like they're bringing like double-edged pressure. Okay, the Bears are. Flacco's got a guy in his face. You have a defensive tackle dropping out underneath the shallow cross, and you're just continuing to buy time, and just layer the throw over the D tackle's head, and the D tackle just watches like, oh man, and then Joker catches it and stays in bounds, and they kick a field goal. I mean, how many, like Dustin Hopkins? I played with him last year. Like, how many game-winning field goals have the Browns kicked this year? It seems like it's crazy to me, and he's made every single one of them. So yeah, I mean, look, the Browns, It's a great story, man. Like Stefanski, he deserves some props for Coach of the Year with what he's done. He's won with 4 quarterbacks. Like all this stuff, if they get into the playoffs, make a deep run, like it's an impressive coaching job once again.
Absolutely. We'll get into the Stefanski versus someone else who I think is in real consideration for the for the Coach of the Year in a minute. But we have to talk about the end of the game, right? Like, for all the things that Flacco and the Browns did right, the Hail Mary was there to be made, and poor Darnell Mooney. Like, for people that didn't see it, we'll run the video. But like, that's the hardest thing in the world when that thing comes to your belly and your legs are flying. Like, it landed in his belly, and then his knees just knocked it out because he was on his back.
Well, great job by Justin Fields, buying time, moving to his left, launches a perfect throw. Like, this is what they tell you, like, hey, throw it up where the point then comes down in the middle of the end zone. You want 2 guys in the middle of the end zone. You want a guy on the back line, and you want a guy on the front line. Mooney was the guy on the front line. I mean, it is classic teach Hail Mary. You go up in the middle. The guys try to tip it either forward or backwards, and the Browns guy actually tipped it forwards to Mooney, and Mooney's on the ground. If he would have just stayed up, like, it's the craziest win ever. Like, what a cool ending to the game. And it's just like, man, it's I mean, when that happened, I was like, there's so many guys over there in the end zone, and he had it. And I thought he caught it for a second because I looked away, and I'm like, no way. Like, could you imagine Chicago after Justin Fields, like, come back when he does that? Like, that would have been crazy, nuts. But, yeah, I mean,
been insane.
At the end of the day, huge win for the Browns, man.
Huge win for the Browns. Again, talk to us about Joe Flacco. The receipts are there from September. Go find them. We're happy to provide you with them. Okay, just trust us. We know what we're talking about. And I think it's time to maybe think that, hey, it was a good run for our man Tommy DeVito. Oh, did you see the Saints every time they sacked him? They were doing this.
Yeah.
And Look, it's great when these things happen. I had a buddy of mine who's a Giants fan who works in the golf industry. He says, so is like Tommy DeVito good? And I said, not enough information. We'll find out. Because a lot of times these things go for 3 or 4 games and then they become Josh Dobbs. He went from the pastronaut to 3rd string, passed over for the Minnesota Vikings, So who knows what happens next? But all the Tommy Cutlets and all the, the Jersey stuff and in New York and the Giants. let's just pump the brakes a little bit. Let's just pump the brakes.
Yeah, it's a great story, right? Like you got
it was
agent kissing his dad, and you got his dad kissing his agent. He's Tommy Cutlets, all that, and then when you turn on the film, it's good. It's not great, and I broke him down, and I watched every single snap of his last 2 games, and he's one of those guys that needs to see it open to throw it. He has done a better job at using his feet to maneuver the pocket, so that's been good. But he's missed some pretty wide open throws. He made an easy corner route throw in that Green Bay game to Wan'Dale Robinson, who's playing excellent for the Giants right now. And I called this a little bit. I thought that the Saints defense was going to expose Tommy DeVito, and they battered him. They hit him. Like, you could tell they were ready for it. Dennis Allen bringing all sorts of pressure, left, right, center, everything like that. So yeah, it was a good run, but I think it's about done right now in New York.
It is. And speaking of being done in New York, that's a perfect transition to our next big subject here. Just you're good. With the way things happened today, the New York Jets have officially been eliminated from the postseason. And Adam Schefter had the story out before the games began a couple of days ago that Aaron Rodgers has been medically cleared and there's a path for him to come back and play this season. Let me just say this. If Aaron Rodgers comes back and plays a single snap in any of the 3 remaining games for the New York Jets, a franchise that does more stupid things than almost any other franchise in the history of the NFL, would be doing the stupidest possible thing they can do. It's the old Ricky Waters line, for those of you that are football historians, when he was running back for the Eagles and he short-armed a pass late in the game. He gatored it instead of going for the catch in a blowout loss, and he said at the podium, for who, for what? And that was the end of his career in Philadelphia. But I mean, like, if you're Aaron Rodgers or you are the Jets and you're putting that guy on the field less than 4 months, 5 months after tearing his Achilles, what are you doing? What are you doing? Who are you serving? You're not serving the team. You're not serving the fan base. You're putting everything that you think you can do next year at risk. It would be the dumbest thing in the world for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets to even contemplate putting him on the field, especially behind that offensive line. Are you kidding me? But nothing that the Jets do would ever surprise me. And to be quite honest, nothing that Aaron Rodgers would do would ever surprise me, because Aaron Rodgers sometimes is a little bit about Aaron Rodgers more than everything else.
You don't say. Look,
I'm looking at
our rundown, and the question's very simple. Is Aaron Rodgers dumb to come back? You answered it, and I'm going to say yes. He would be dumb to come back. There's no reason. Like, you said it perfectly. Look, the doctors might have cleared him, but the offensive line didn't clear him to play because that was bad. Like, it is. I cannot imagine. Like, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say I think there is a 0% chance that he comes back and plays. I think it's all hearsay. I think it's all talk, and just there's Trey. There's no way. There's no way. And if there is a way, then we will do an entire podcast on why he's so dumb for coming back.
Yeah, if he comes back, he's coming back for him.
Yeah.
Okay? Has nothing to do with anything else. And if the Jets allow that to happen, they deserve whatever happens to him. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, you really want this guy to be your quarterback next year? Tell him there's not a single effing chance in hell he sees the field. Don't even think about it. Don't speak about it on the Pat McAfee show. Don't even utter the words. Don't even use the oxygen to form the words, because there's nothing good that's going to come out of it. But with the Jets, nothing would ever surprise me. Speaking of surprising, the Houston Texans. They're still in the playoff hunt with an unbelievable win in overtime against the Tennessee Titans, who should never, ever, ever wear the Houston Oilers uniforms again. Let's just bury that. Those are the property of the people of Houston, the fans of Houston, and the team that plays in Houston. So just stop that now. But for them to come back and win that game, I mean, you put it in the text stream perfectly, and then I totally pimped it and put it on a tweet, so thank you.
Sweet, yeah, do it.
No C.J. Stroud, no Tank Dell, no Nico Collins, down 13 points early, and they come back and win. That tells you this is a team, talk about culture, that the first-year head coach, DeMeco Ryans, is instilled in his players, and they are all in. I don't care it was against the Tennessee Titans, who, by the way, earlier this week went out and beat the Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football, okay? On any given Sunday, 2 touchdowns late in that game to win that game. It is a statement win, and it makes a statement about the head coach in DeMeco Ryans.
Well, and you forgot no Will Anderson Jr. either. So
no Will Anderson Jr.
All your studs, and you have 7 sacks on Will Levis, and so all your studs are out. You're starting your third-string quarterback, Case Keenum. I know why they went with him because – and I had an inkling, and I texted him. I was like, hey, bro, this is so funny because, we're pretty good friends. I was like, hey, bro, I heard that you're starting and not Davis Mills. He goes, I can't talk to you. You're the enemy now. I go, come on, bro. There's no way. And he goes out, throws the pick six early, and just sort of stays with it, man. Just, does enough – and makes enough plays outside of the pocket late to win the game, goes down, they kick that field goal in overtime, and it was such a good win because everyone, including Vegas, thought that Tennessee should win that game. I think Tennessee was favored by 3.5 or 4 points, including me. I picked the Titans to win because no C.J. Stroud, no Nico, no Tank, everything like that. And just the culture, you said it, that DeMeco has set. And just the amount of fun they have on the sidelines, man. I was watching the game, and DeMeco's running around, got that energy, just smiling. Hey, we're good. Don't worry. It's all good. And then to have the walk-off run, because they scored a walk-off rushing touchdown. It gets called back. You get out of field goal range, get back into field goal range, kick a 50-plus yarder to win it on the road, right in the thick of it. C.J. Stroud will be back next week. Hopefully you get your other guys back soon. It is as impressive as a win because let's face it, Trey, without DeMeco Ryans there, this Texans team, probably for the last decade, they lose that game and they get smoked. They get smoked. There's no faith at all that they're going to win. There's no good vibe. There's none of that. And so I just love the fact that they were able to stick with it when down 13-0, everything against you, just find a way to win. And sometimes the special seasons, as you know, happen when you win games you're not supposed to. And they were not supposed to win this game.
They've won 8 games this year. They won 3 a year ago. And right now they're 1 spot out of the final playoff spot in the AFC. They're ahead of the Buffalo Bills. They're in the 8th spot. Buffalo's at 9. Here are their remaining games. They got to play Cleveland. They got to play the Titans again. And then what could be really fascinating because the Colts are sitting as the 7th.
Indy. Yeah.
Right now they would play Indy in Indy with the season on the line.
Where do they play the Browns?
They have to play the Browns at home. They play them in Houston. So they get the Browns at home. They get the Titans at home. They have 2 of their final 3 home games. 2 of their final 3 games are at home, and then they play in Indy the final game of the regular season.
They got a shot, man.
They absolutely do. So is DeMeco Ryans the coach of the year? Is Kevin Stefanski the coach of the year for all the injuries that the Cleveland Browns have endured? Is Dan Campbell the coach of the year? I mean, look, there were expectations for Detroit, and they've matched them so far, so great, good for them, and a huge win for them over Denver and that defense, which had been really good up until that game. But I kind of feel like what Stefanski has had to go through with all the quarterback changes and what DeMeco has done in year 1, to me, those 2 guys have to be at the top of the list right now.
Yeah, DeMeco makes a lot of sense for me, especially if the Texans get into the playoffs, just because of the drastic turnaround. We talked about this one of our very first podcasts when CJ was starting to play well. It's it takes 1 or 2 people to change the entire future of your organization for the next 10 or 15 years. And those 2 guys have happened to come together at the same time in DeMeco and CJ Stroud. Bobby Sloak, I don't know how much longer he's going to be around. He's probably going to get some head coaching interviews with what he's been able to do in his offense. It's been outstanding. So, yeah, I mean, if it ended today, I'm going DeMeco. Stefanski's, in my opinion, amazing coaching job, especially because he runs the offense. And he's had to deal with so many of the quarterbacks. But maybe Stefanski just for the fact that he went to go out and get Flacco. Maybe that's the case, Tip
of the
but
cap
no,
from
I
us,
think it's
I'll tell
DeMeco in my opinion. Yeah, I think for right now it would be DeMeco.
All right, so while we're in the awards portion of the program, I think we both agreed that Dak's MVP campaign died in Western New York on Sunday, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
No shot.
Probably?
No shot.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So who is it then? Because we don't have that quarterback that sort of established himself far above everybody else, although there's one you like, and we'll get to that. Tyreek did not play and the Dolphins annihilated the Jets. And the fact that they annihilated the Jets, to me, does not disqualify Tyreek from the MVP. But I think for him to get the MVP, he's going to have to set the record. And I think with the injuries Monday night and not playing here, I don't think he's going to get the record. So I think that's why he's not going to be the MVP. So is it Christian McCaffrey, who continues to score touchdowns at an alarming rate since that trade last season? 3 more today. Or is it Brock Purdy? Oh, by the way, just real quick here, I got a text from Case Keenum saying, thanks, buddy. So screw you, Chase Daniel. He just texted me back. You're the enemy. I'm not the enemy. So there you have it. Win for me. There you go. There you go. But anyway, tell him you did that in the middle of the taping. Anyway, so it's wide open. Is it possible? Is it possible that Josh Allen, who is a touchdown machine, has more total touchdowns in the NFL this year, can actually win the MVP if his team doesn't make the playoffs?
No. I don't think so, because even though you might be the best player in the league because you have the most touchdowns, I don't know if it's the most valuable if your team doesn't make the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm leaning. I mean, if CMC keeps putting these numbers up, you know how much I love Brock Purdy, right? But CMC, that dude is unstoppable. He put up 3 more touchdowns a day, 20 total touchdowns. It's crazy, but I think it's 1 and 2 right now is either Brock Purdy and CMC or CMC and Brock Purdy on the same team, which is wild to me.
Yeah, but will they split the vote though? Would a Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey thing split the vote?
It's a quarterback award,
allowing for somebody else. But who? If it's a quarterback award, who's the guy? To me, it has to. But I think that a lot of people will say Purdy's great. 4-yard throw to Debo. 6-yard throw to Ayuk.
You're a hater.
I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater. I'm saying that's what people will say. So, and I think Christian. So let me phrase it this way: if it's a quarterback that's going to win the award and it's not Brock Purdy, who is it? Who is it?
Well, yeah, it's not Dak anymore. No. I don't think. And Jalen Hurts, no, right? Patrick Mahomes, they haven't been good enough this year. Nope. I can't imagine Josh Allen winning it.
Tua?
Tua.
Maybe.
Here you go. One name we're forgetting, and it's not talked about enough. Do you have any idea who I'm going to say? Read my mind.
Lamar
Hurts? Jackson.
No. Lamar. Okay, yeah, that's fair. Honestly, 100%.
Lamar
fair.
Jackson.
100%.
So he might, because of how Dak, it might be like CMC, Lamar, and Purdy, top 3 right now. That's who I would guess. Like the way Lamar's playing, and he continues to play some of these games down the stretch, which the Ravens, if he wins these next 3 games down the stretch versus that schedule, you better imagine that if they're the 1 seed, he's going to get some MVP votes for sure.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. But it would be nice every 27 years if a non-quarterback wins it. And I think certainly Christian McCaffrey would be that guy. He would be that guy. Sunday Night Football, the Jacksonville Jaguars do what they do, Chase. They lost another home game. Baltimore Ravens win. Jacksonville falls to 3-5 at home. 3-5 at home. Can we take anybody seriously in the AFC South?
I don't know, because I thought Jacksonville a couple weeks ago was going to be the 1 seed in the AFC. Yeah. Man, a few weeks have gone by and losses to the Browns and then beating themselves against the Ravens, which you can't do in that Ravens defense. Everyone's 8-6 in the South, right? The Colts, the Texans somehow with Case Keenum got to 8-6. Jacksonville's 8-6. It's an interesting division. I didn't think this division would be this interesting this late in the season. That is for sure.
Okay, so what are we to gain from this? Because the one thing I can say about watching this game is what Bill Belichick always says: more games are lost than won. Right? I'm not taking anything away from Baltimore, and obviously a brutal injury to running back Keaton Mitchell. We hope he's okay, but it didn't look great in any way, shape, or form. But Jacksonville misses 2 field goals in the first half. Trevor Lawrence inexplicably drops a ball inside the 20, inside the red zone where they had a chance to score. And then right before the half, they run down there, get a completion with no timeouts, he throws it in the field of play. Clock runs out before they can at least kick a field goal. I mean, this is the definition of a game that is lost more than it's won.
Well, this is the definition of like the old Jacksonville Jaguars, like not coached by Doug Peterson. So I have no idea why all of a sudden they play a legitimate team and then they just like I couldn't believe it. Like, first of all, Brandon McManus is nails. Like, he never misses, and he missed 2 in a row. Almost missed the extra point, actually. Almost shanked it left. It barely hooked in, so he was having an off night. And then, the Trevor Lawrence one is crazy to me because he had 2 fumbles. Like, he's got a fumbling problem. He really does. Like, he always has. And it's just like the most inopportune times that these situations come up when you need your quarterback, your star quarterback, to make a play, and he doesn't. Like, you're throwing a flat route with no time left, hoping your guy can get out into cover 2, and you're throwing it into a cloud corner. Of course you're going to get tackled inbounds. Like, that's 9 points between the halftime and just the 2 fumbles. Like, it's just it's tough to take these guys seriously, and especially it just goes back to like, look, more games are lost than won, but like, you got to give credit to the Ravens defense, man, because they are balling. Like,
Matabuike's been amazing. Matabuike's been amazing. He absolutely
NFL record. He tied an NFL record for at least half a sack in 11 straight games, which is crazy. Yeah. Like, honestly, I'd never even heard of him before this year. Like, and he's burst onto the scene. He's playing 3 tech. And
these are the things you don't admit in public, by the way. Just saying.
Well, dude, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. It's impossible to know everyone when you're playing. Now I know him. I broke him down on NFL Network on Friday because he's having such a hell of a year. So it just is like, and Kyle Van Noy, like, he came out of retirement or semi-retirement going. He's balling 5 or 6 sacks. I mean, they're loaded on defense, man. Like, it is. And that's the thing. Like, we said off camera, I thought Lamar was going to have a good game. He had an okay game.
Average at best.
Lost some. Yeah, but they're still winning by double digits. That's how good this Ravens defense is. I mean, they are not the 2000 Ravens defense. Not even close. But it reminds me of how they play. Like, the physical nature. They're trying to kill you every time they hit you. Like, not just tackle you, tackle the ball, everything you do. They choke you out. I mean, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith was the best thing I think that ever happened to them when he got traded there, because he's taken that defense to a whole nother level.
All right, so down the stretch of the season, right? All these teams are now 8-6. Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and amazingly the Houston Texans. Who do you trust the most to close this thing out? Because right now, with this loss tonight, Jacksonville's probability of winning the division, which seemed like a mortal lock a couple of weeks ago, is down to 50%.
I know. And you look at the remaining schedule, right? Like, Jags have at Buccaneers versus Panthers at Titans. Okay. The Colts have at Falcons, Raiders, Texans. That Week 18 game against the Texans. But then the Texans have Browns, Titans, Colts. So I think the Texans easily have the hardest schedule. So in my mind, I think you have to trust the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, you got to go. They play better on the road. You go to Tampa in Week 16. You go to Tennessee in Week 18. And you got the 2-11 Panthers coming to you at Week 17. So I think, I mean, on paper, the Jacksonville Jaguars should. But, like, don't count out the Colts or the Texans. Like, if C.J. Stroud comes back next week, and forget about the schedule, like, it's going to come down to the wire in this division, which I honestly did not think we would say this late in the season.
No, like, going into the season, we thought the AFC South was probably the easiest division to win for Jacksonville because Houston was in a total rebuild. We didn't know what was going on in Indianapolis. And obviously the Titans have proved us correct, and they have no idea what they're doing. But this is why the NFL sells hope better than anybody. Yeah. Literally 3 teams now have an opportunity to not only win that division, get into the postseason, but host a home playoff game between Indianapolis, the Houston frickin' Texans, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing everything they can to spit the bit.
Yeah. Not good. It's not good, man. And that's the thing, like, Jacksonville, I just can't go to the fact, like, the last 2 weeks and just how they've looked at home. I mean, Trey, 3-5 at home. I don't even know if they want a home playoff game. That's how
Correct.
bad it is. Like, just make the wild card and go on the road. You play better away from it. Even in London, it's crazy to me.
5-1 outside of Jacksonville, 3-5 inside Jacksonville. We'll see what happens. Chase, thanks.